Michael Chandler's contemporaries all come out and in droves call him a cheater.
And he's a cheater. You're so fake. Then he stuck his fingers in my mouth.
Are you mindful of that going into the fight?
If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Pretty much everything he does, immediate point taken away. Smoking people in the back of the head.
That's on the ref.
Everyone's looking forward to your fight. Michael Chandler, super exciting.
Yeah.
How do you see it going?
Getting finished.
You're going to finish him? Both of you guys are some of the most exciting fighters in the UFC. So is it going to be first round, second round?
Hopefully the first.
Hopefully the first.
I think it's a good fight though because Chandler will have more submission defense, say Bobby Green did. Chandler is hittable in my opinion, so Paddy may poke him and box him.
I'm gonna probably go to Michael, I guess. Yeah, Michael Chandler, I guess, even though he is kind of in the same position where he's a little bit older than Paddy, but I'll go Michael for that one.
The anticipation is increasing as the lightweight clash between Michael Chandler and Paddy Pimblett is getting closer and closer. The competition in the 155 weight class is so high that even a non-title fight between these two is getting more hype than most of the title fights. Paddy and Chandler will look to knock each other down in the co-main event of UFC 314, as both are eager to make their way to the lightweight title fight. Paddy Pimblett is excited for this fight, and he knows that Chandler will go hard against him. He believes that his opponent will look to knock him out, but the Englishman is confident to tackle all the attacks of Chandler and register yet another win in his UFC career.
What do you make of this ball of muscle, Michael Chandler?
He's a unit, isn't he? He's a little...
He is a unit.
But he's gonna try and come out and knock me head off. You know what I mean? Yeah. I do think he is one of the most entertaining fighters in the UFC. He comes out and he tries to absolutely take your head off, swinging overhands, left hooks, and that's all anyone's ever tried to do against me and knock me out, and no one's ever knocked me out. And Michael Chandler's not going to be the first person to. Again,
Paddy further believes that he will be the one to go for the knockout against Chandler. Paddy has belief in his kicks and striking, and he knows he will find a way to submit his opponent or knock him out at any point during their fight.
Just like last time, I think I want to keep him on the end of my range. I want to kick him, frustrate him, and I do think I could land a knockout blow as he steps in, like a punch, a kick, a knee, an elbow, anything as he steps in and brings all his weight forward and leans into a shot. I think I could knock him out. I also think I could TKO him with leg kicks, but I don't think he's going to try and take me down. He knows I'll submit him.
This fight is creating excitement among the fans and MMA pros. Dana White is also looking forward to witnessing a thrilling encounter between these two skilled lightweights. Dana thinks it's a huge fight for Paddy to shut his haters and doubters like every time he does. He knows that this time he has a big challenge in the form of the experienced Michael Chandler, and it would be exciting to see how the Englishman overcomes this challenge.
British fighter in a co-main event, which everybody's extremely excited for. Paddy Pimblett takes the show on the road to Miami to take on Michael Chandler. What an unbelievable fight that is.
Yeah, it's a great fight, a great card, and obviously a big night for Paddy. You know what I mean? If for whatever reason there's been a lot of doubt that has surrounded Paddy Pimblett, and he has shut the doubters up every single time he goes out and competes.
Michael Chandler is also getting ready for his fight with Paddy, as he sees this bout as a huge opportunity to revive his career. Chandler has the experience of fighting against top fighters, and now he has to prove himself again with a win at UFC 314, as it will eventually get him closer to the top 5 rankings of the lightweight division.
How can you beat someone who cannot quit? How can you beat someone who every time they go through a hard time, they get better and they get stronger instead of getting weaker and getting demoralized? How can you beat someone who looks back on all the tests that they've had and said, yeah, that was dude, bring it on.
See you at the top.
Chandler is looking to get to the winning ways, as he has lost 4 out of his last 5 fights, including his recent defeat against Charles Oliveira at UFC 309. Despite his downfall, Chandler is still among the valuable fighters when it comes to pay-per-view. However, things are going to be difficult for Chandler this time, as he is set to miss the birth of his child for this fight. He has got the support and blessings from his wife, and he knows that now he has to stay ready both mentally and physically for UFC 314. Revealing this news, Michael Chandler Chandler recently said, "I have a daughter being born on March 31st, which is very, very interesting. It still remains to be seen if I'm gonna be able to make it to her birth because it's 12 days before the fight. I think at this point, it's more than likely I'll miss the birth. It's one of those things where I'm laser focused and I've got the most supportive wife on the planet, so I've got her blessing." On the other hand, Paddy Pimblett has spoken about the allegations on Chandler for being a cheater. He said that he is aware of Chandler's dirty fighting techniques and will be ready for them. Paddy also discussed his game plan for his opponent's tactics and how he was going to tackle them during their fight.
Michael Chandler's contemporaries all come out and in droves call him a cheater.
And he's a cheater. You're so fake. Then he stuck his fingers in my mouth.
Are you mindful of that going into the fight?
If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Pretty much everything he does, immediate point taken away. Smoking people in the back of the head.
That's on the ref. Charles either needs to move his head or the ref needs to say something to him. That was some bad refereeing right there. Seeing the Poirier one as well, saying he tried to fish hook him to get the choke.
He sticks his fingers inside my mouth, pulls my head up to try to get his hand under my chin. Bro, I bite his fingers so hard. If I didn't have a mouth guard on my top teeth, he'll be walking and rocking like this forever.
I'll do the same thing as Poirier. If that happens, I'll bite his finger and try and cut it off with my teeth. But I always say, if you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Paddy criticized the referee for not doing his job perfectly during the Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler fight. He thinks the referee should have interfered when Chandler was smashing the head of Oliveira.
It's not really... He's just throwing hammer fists at the back of Charles Oliveira's head. Charles either needs to move his head or the ref needs to say something to him. Like, I did watch that fight the other day though. He does hammer fist about 12 times on the back of the head. Just like that. And he knows what he's doing. But it's one of them, like the ref, like there, if I was in that position, I'm Charles, I'm saying, ref, you know what I mean? What are you doing here? Like, that was some bad refereeing right there.
Moreover, during the recent UFC pay-per-view event, Paddy Pimblett shared his plan to tackle Chandler's probable cheating. He said he wouldn't allow the fight to go to the 5th round and would finish his opponent before that to rule out all such possibilities.
It gets to round 5 of the fight and Chandler gets a bit desperate and starts smashing the back of your head in. What are you going to do about that? Are you going to start cheating back, mate?
Well, it's not going to get to round 5. He's going to be finished before then.
Paddy further added that this is not his job to take care of such things, as the referee needs to pay extra attention to point out these things. He once again mentioned the Oliveira versus Chandler fight, where Chandler continuously hit Oliveira's head due to the negligence of the referee.
It's not on me, lad. It's on the referee. You know what I mean? The referee was quite slow in the Charles Oliveira fight and he didn't stop him. So Chandler just kept hammer fisting the back of his head. It's on the referee.
Meanwhile, discussing his game plan to beat Michael Chandler, Paddy Pimblett reveals that he received some inside knowledge from Patricio Pitbull Freire to assist him in this fight. Paddy Pimblett said, "I was speaking to Pitbull, someone who knocked Chandler out in the 1st round, and he was giving me a few tips on how to beat him also, so we had a little bit of inside knowledge from someone who fought him." Paddy Pimblett shared the inside information he got from Patricio to beat Chandler. He feels that if he follows Patricio Pitbull's strategy, he has an even higher chance of beating Chandler because he noted the 2-inch size difference between him and Patricio Freire. Pimblett further said of Patricio's tips, "He was just telling me little things, what Chandler does. You can catch him and get punches off. Pitbull knocked him out with an overarm right. I'm a lot longer than Pitbull. Pitbull's featherweight. Chandler's shorter than me. That's something at the press conference the other day. I realized even more." Paddy also shared how he would approach this fight using the valuable knowledge he got from Pitbull. Paddy said of how he sees the fight with Michael Chandler playing out. "I knew I was going to be bigger than Mike. I knew he was taller than Pitbull, but I thought Mike would be wider than he is. I'm nearly as wide as him. I'm a couple of inches taller than him. I think he's going to be surprised at the range difference. He's going to have to leap in a big way for the shots, and I'm going to catch him when he's leaping in." Molly McCann, the English fighter who recently retired after the UFC Fight Night London, says Paddy Pimblett knows the drill ahead of the Michael Chandler encounter. McCann says Paddy is now at the peak of his career, and after a win against Chandler, more massive fights will be waiting for him at lightweight. McCann said of her teammate, "He knows the drill. He's meeting Chandler at the perfect time. He's leveling up everywhere, and you look at his body, he's a man now. He's 30 years of age. He's not green in the sport, and he's just gonna go in there and absolutely do the job." Molly McCann further believes that Paddy will find his best version in pressure situations. She backs Paddy to chase his dreams at UFC 314. McCann continued, "Pressure makes diamonds, and my boy is a big, big diamond. This is everything he's dreamed of his whole life. I don't think the bright lights are gonna get to him." The UFC bantamweight fighter Corey Sandhagen picks Michael Chandler to get back to his winning ways at UFC 314. He thinks Paddy is also a good fighter, but Chandler's experience is a plus point, and he will look to give his best as he is entering his retirement age.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, this is an interesting one, too. I'm going to probably go Michael, I guess. Yeah, Michael Chandler, I guess, even though he is kind of in the same position where he's a little bit older than Paddy, but I'll go Michael for that one.
The former lightweight champion Charles Oliveira shared his verdict about this fight. He praised the young talent of Paddy, but Oliveira knows the importance of experience in the UFC. He thinks Chandler's aggressiveness and experience might prove to be too much for Paddy Pimblett. Charles Oliveira said, "Michael Chandler is a very aggressive and explosive guy. I have nothing but respect for him. He has power in his hands." On the other side, you have a younger guy who believes in himself, moves really well, and has really good jiu-jitsu as well as a good stand-up game. He moves well, but experience counts for a lot. Moreover, Charles Oliveira also shared his concerns for Chandler. He feels that if the fight goes to the final rounds, then Paddy Pimblett might make things difficult for Chandler. Charles Oliveira added, "In the first rounds, Chandler has a chance to knock him out because of his explosiveness. But if the fight goes to the third round, I think it will be difficult for Chandler because Paddy is younger and very talented." Mike Perry also believes that Paddy Pimblett has a good chance of beating Chandler at UFC 314. He thinks Paddy has proved himself against Bobby Green, and now he is a major threat to Michael Chandler.
Michael Chandler and Paddy Pimblett, that's a big one. I think it's a good fight though because Chandler will have more submission defense, say Bobby Green did. Chandler is hittable in my opinion, so Paddy may poke him and box him. If it does go to the ground, Paddy's had some good jiu-jitsu.
I went from Paddy is super overrated like a year and a half ago to now I feel like Paddy is super underrated because everybody hates on the guy.
Yes.
But he just keeps winning and winning and winning. I would take Paddy Pimblett in that fight against Chandler.
Furthermore, Song Yadong, who is a bantamweight fighter, has predicted a knockout win for Michael Chandler in the co-main event of UFC 314 in Miami.
Michael Chandler.
Okay. How does he win, do you think?
Knockout.
On the contrary, Youssef Zalal has picked Paddy Pimblett to surprise everyone on April 12th. The featherweight fighter believes Paddy the Baddie Pimblett will submit Michael Chandler in their upcoming lightweight showdown.
Bro, this might be crazy, but I think I'm going to go with Paddy. I think I'm going to go with Paddy just because of the jiu-jitsu. I think he can take him down and just hold him down or submit him.
The MMA analyst Luke Thomas also thinks Paddy Pimblett has a great chance to win this fight. He believes that Paddy can submit Michael Chandler, but for that, he has to overcome his weakness of bad defense. Luke Thomas said, "I think Paddy might win that one. I think Paddy has a good chance of getting a submission. If Chandler fights reckless, I don't think there's any question about that. Paddy's got bad defense, and I think that could be a real problem for him, but that's why the matchup is so great. If Chandler overcommits or gets wrestled to his hands, he is in trouble." Similarly, Aljamain Sterling sees this fight as a huge opportunity to make his ranking better in the lightweight division. He praised the grappling of Paddy, and he feels if Paddy is physically in good shape, then he has a great chance to beat Michael Chandler at UFC 314.
Call me crazy, but I think this is a tailor-made matchup stylistically for Paddy Pimblett to win and to get ranked.
Really?
Get ranked high.
Really?
Yes.
How?
His grappling. His grappling is very, very underrated. Charles got his back like that. Paddy has very, very unassuming jiu-jitsu. He might not look physically imposing. He might turn to a fat slob when he's out of camp. But when the guy is shredded and gets lean and mean, he's a gamer.
Ahead of the Chandler vs. Paddy showdown at UFC 314, Tom Aspinall has provided a scathing assessment of Michael Chandler. The UFC interim heavyweight champion claimed that he isn't as good as he thought he was. Tom Aspinall said during an interview with One on One, "I like the matchup. I was there for Chandler's fight against Charles Oliveira, and I got the pleasure of watching them both up close. I watched Chandler, and granted, Chandler had been out of the octagon for a little while at the time, so he might have been a bit rusty, and he was fighting Charles Oliveira Pereira, who is one of the greats at the weight. Tom Aspinall wasn't impressed with Michael Chandler's performance at UFC 309. He was expecting better from him, and he felt disappointed to watch him live. Aspinall added, "But I didn't rate Chandler, to be honest. I thought he looked off. He wasn't great. He wasn't as good as I thought he was watching him on the TV." Meanwhile, the #1 ranked lightweight contender, Arman Sarukian, said that he won't watch the Paddy versus Chandler fight. He thinks that these two are not on his level, as both of them are ranked below the top 5 rankings.
Paddy Pimblett against Michael Chandler. You got Chandler, you got Paddy.
I don't know. They're both not good, so I don't follow them. I don't watch their fights because they're not on my level.
You only watch fights that are on your level.
Yeah, top 5 fighters or real contenders fights.
The former opponent of Paddy Pimblett, Julian Erosa, has also shared his thoughts about this fight. Julian believes it will be a close fight, and he emphasizes the special skills of both fighters. He thinks this fight will be a contest between the grappling and wrestling of these two fighters. Julian Erosa said, "That's a tough one, you know? Obviously, Paddy was an old fellow of mine. He is a completely different fighter than he was when I fought him, but I think it's going to be a coin toss on who's on the wrestling versus the grappling. Paddy's got better grappling, Chandler's got better wrestling." Erosa further elaborated on the major changes and strategies of both fighters to win this bout. According to him, Chandler will rely on knocking out his opponent, while Paddy will look to submit Chandler. Julian Erosa added, "So if Chandler keeps it on his feet, I think Chandler gets a knockout. And I think if Paddy is able to, get him down and pick his back, I think he gets to submit him. So either Paddy by submission or Chandler by knockout." Further sharing his prediction for this fight, Erosa picked Michael Chandler to succeed with his wrestling and knock out Paddy at UFC 314.
Which is more likely? What do you think actually happened?
So I think it's a close one. I'm going to probably go with Chandler with the knockout.
Paddy Pimblett is known for his remarkable grappling skills, but Austin Vanderford thinks Michael Chandler will find a way to tackle that. The welterweight fighter thinks Chandler is an experienced guy, and with his relentless power, he will manage to overcome this challenge of Paddy Pimblett.
Man, Michael Chandler, Paddy Pimblett. I'm going to go Michael Chandler on it. Paddy, of course, great grappling. I think Michael Chandler will do a good job at kind of nullifying that, and the power in Michael's hands and in the stand-up, I think, will be a little too much.
The bantamweight fighter Elijah Smith has also predicted a knockout victory for Michael Chandler at UFC 314. Elijah Smith stated, "Now this is a really good fight. I think Chandler could actually put Paddy away. He can knock him out." However, Cody Brundage has a different opinion about this fight, as he feels everyone is underestimating Paddy Pimblett. According to Cody, Paddy is a big guy, and he can shock everyone with his skills against Chandler. He said that Paddy has always delivered his best when people start doubting him, and he knows how to get the job done.
Michael Chandler, Paddy Pimblett. You know, the thing is, everyone will say Michael Chandler, but Paddy Pimblett is big, man. He's a big dude. He's huge for the division. He has really good grappling. He does a great job of fighting long. I think everybody thought Bobby Green was going to piece Paddy up, and he went in and made that fight look pretty easy. He's young. I think Paddy gets it done.
Similarly, Jose Delgado said that he has changed his perception of Paddy Pimblett after his fight with Bobby Green. He now acknowledges Paddy's styles, but the featherweight fighter doesn't seem to be a great fan of Michael Chandler's skills.
Paddy Pimblett, I never gave him credit, and then after the Bobby Green fight, I was like, he's pretty good. I don't think too highly of Chandler.
On the other hand, the UFC featherweight fighter, Joshua Van, seems to be excited for this fight. He feels Michael Chandler is more likely to claim victory against Paddy on April 12th in Miami.
Skill.
Ooh, I think Chandler might take this one.
So this is all we have from today's video, and hopefully you have enjoyed it. Share your valuable predictions for the Chandler vs. Paddy fight in the comments section. Make sure to subscribe to our channel, and don't forget to press the bell icon to get instant notification about our latest videos.